Welcome to Synced On Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have a new friend, Stephanie Carlson from NatureSpire in Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome, Steph. So glad to have you on here. How are you
Thank
doing?
you. I'm so glad to be here and such a chance opportunity meeting you, getting to know you, becoming your friend. And now I'm on your podcast. So
I
exciting.
know. Well, it's funny because we've been sending you our publication and I reached out to you. I mean, when was sometime this summer, I guess,
Yeah, like
and
6
said,
months ago, probably.
yeah, let's meet. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to be in Indianapolis soon.
No, it was perfect. And I always read your publications and I love the magazine. So I'm like,
Thank you.
there's a person behind the magazine and now she's my friend. Thank you for
I'm going to
reaching
have
out.
pizza with her.
Absolutely. It was so fun. Thank you so much.
So that really worked out perfectly. And then, as I've gotten to know you, it's like, you have a powerful story to tell. And I'm just really glad, that you're willing to come on and share, how you got into the industry, what you've done over the last 8 years, and, what the future looks like. So let's start with you know, you had a career before this, like maybe, how much of it you want, you tell us some of your
I can kind of
background
give
and
you
kind
like
of,
a timeline.
yeah, that'd be
So
good.
I graduated from Purdue University. Grew up in the Hoosier State, born and bred. And after graduation, I went to work for CNN, Cable News Network, back when we didn't even have cable up here. So I was there for quite a few years. And then I went to be a news reporter in Savannah. So I have a journalism background, writing, photography, things like that. So I moved back home to be closer to my family. There was no, internet. There was no email. There was no FaceTime at that time. So I felt a little lonely in Atlanta. So I moved back home to be closer to my family, met my husband, and turned into a full-time mom. So I spent probably 18 to 20 years raising my children. Then my marriage didn't go so well, but that's okay. It happens. And I began freelance writing, taking my journalism skills into freelance writing, set up my own website. The first time, they're so easy to set up now. They were not that easy to set
They
up in the
weren't that
beginning,
easy before.
but it was a good experience, right? I like learning new things. So I really focused on raising my kids, and I would do freelance writing and photography, a lot of nature photography. And every year we would do a garden with my kids, and it was just something that we always did. So my intention starting NatureSpire, once my four incredible children went to college, started their own lives, I was like, I kind of want to do something in the landscaping industry. So my original intent, because I love gardening so much, is to teach people how to garden. So I
Okay.
stumbled across, as a journalist, you love to study and you love to read
Yes.
and you love to learn. So I started learning more about how would I teach people to garden? What would I do with this? And I stumbled across biophilic design. So biophilic design is the practice of bringing the outdoors inside so that you can create healthier environments for the people who are living or working in that space. So I was like, oh, well, this is really interesting. And garden design actually led me to vertical gardens. So vertical gardens are living walls that are on the wall. So they're irrigated vertically and they're built vertically instead of horizontally. So we have a lot of apartments around here in Carmel, which is where I'm based. So that why don't I teach people how to garden vertically since they don't have any horizontal property anymore? So that
Yes.
led me into other areas. I started meeting with architects saying, this is what I'm doing. Are you interested? So one architect came to me and they said, yes, we'd like to have one of those vertical gardens at Corteva. They're rebranding and they're the agri-science arm of Dow, I believe. And they were rebranding. So they wanted to have a living wall that looked like the cornfields here in Indiana. So I took a blank slate, did a design, learned how to install it, got the irrigation set up, worked with contractors, plumbers, and electricians to make sure I had
Wait,
all
this is your first project?
one of
Is
our
that what
first
you're saying?
projects.
And this is,
Uh,
did you
and
say if it was indoors or outdoor?
it
It
was
was in,
indoors in the atrium, and it
okay.
was 15 feet tall by about 10 feet wide. So it's pretty big. We had to get lift certified. We had to be safety certified. We had to take the OSHA requirements, things like that to be able to do this job. But it was fun. It was hard. We had to work from 6 p.m. to like 2 a.m. So we weren't working when people were on the
Or
site.
in the office.
But
Okay.
that was one of our first ones. And I fell in love with living walls. So I was like, well, maybe I won't teach people how to garden. Maybe I'll create living walls.
So the whole premise of the company pivoted with that
It
job.
pivoted, yes. And so, Biophilic Design. So I started in 2017. So we were doing pretty good, 17, 18, 19. And then when 2020 came along and everybody started leaving the office and COVID kind of interjected things, and we had a couple jobs going on, just like we were doing landscaping apartment project and things like that. Everybody was going away. So all of a sudden, as people are creating their own home offices, they're buying more plants, they're putting more greenery into their space. They want to create a healthy environment because everybody was so sick at that time. And also with the healthy buildings or the sick buildings back in the day when there were, you know, concerns about, the
Air
circulation, the
pollution.
HVAC,
Yeah.
people were getting sick at the office. Well, now we bring nature in, and what plants do for us on the indoors is they take our toxins. They love our toxins and they give us oxygen. So it purifies our air, which has been really exciting. And that to me was just a really different way at looking about how to create and design workplaces.
And so tell me again what happened because you're doing all this office installation, green walls, and then COVID happened. And how did that affect your business though? Because I mean, it seems like that could have been very disruptive.
Yeah. So I just tried to bring plants to people. I would get my
Okay.
trailer. I'd call the nurseries. Nobody was buying anything from the nurseries. My nurseries that I work with, Lowe's, Costco, everybody canceled their orders. So I literally would load up my trailer and take plants to people, and we were selling online. So it was really interesting. But the nice thing about it, it gave me time to prepare because when everybody was going back to the office, which now there people are still trying to get back in the office, but with the architects and interior designers, people were starting to bring greenery indoors. So we also do moss walls. We have really grown that division quite a bit because it's greenery inside that will last for decades and required no maintenance. So the moss walls have been really popular. You got one right behind me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that one? And so that's preserved, but it looks so vibrant and real.
It looks so vibrant. So it's all preserved. It's, harvested out of the forest. It's harvested, like there's some moss farms and things like that in Florida, and they harvest it. Like we take it and we turn it into designs. We do logos. We do small ones. We do very large ones. We have one in a home here in Indianapolis that's 40 feet tall, 3 stories tall by 16 feet wide. So we've done pretty much everything. It's been exciting. And the beautiful thing about it is like what I'm doing, I love. I have a huge passion for it. And, people will come with like this vision, people meaning just like homeowners or um, designers, architects, and say, can you do this? And I'm like, you know what? We'll figure it out. So,
Well,
so we've been,
even from that one project, that big project that you talked about with the look of cornfields. I mean,
Mhm.
that's crazy that, the hoops, the learnings, everything that you had to do to get that job completed and working through the night. That was at the start of your journey. So I'm really impressed that like, yeah, it seems like you're up for a challenge. And not only are you up for a challenge, but that's how you like to do the work that you're
yeah.
doing.
And, it's just, I like to say yes whenever I can to any project that comes across my desk, whether it's inside or outdoors or inside or outdoors, because I don't want to leave anyone out. Like I want everybody to experience biophilic design. I want everybody to have an opportunity to have their vision come to life. And we've started doing a lot more exterior landscaping because a lot of times when we meet with someone that we're doing some interiors with, they're like, hey, can you do this too? And then they're working with one person. It's a one-stop shop. They can get everything they want. They can get their budget right where they need it to be. And they know they're going to have a high quality, landscaper helping them do the job. And they'll get it at the end of the day. They're going to be really happy with what they've got.
That is fantastic. I love the creativity that you see these projects with. How did you is there an ideal project or that you have or are you just it sounds like you're excited for something new each time, but surely you're doing somewhat similar projects sometimes.
You know what I love doing? I think more than anything is rooftops and amenity areas. And there's a
Okay.
big trend toward that, toward having a space where, let's say you're at the office or you live in an apartment building. Instead of just having a place where you just come to live, you actually really live there. You can play, you can have putting greens, there's swimming pools, there's activity centers, there's, foosball, anything you want to do in these apartment buildings now are there for any of the residents to use and their friends when they bring their friends over. So I really love that. We did the Pacers Plaza, the Bicentennial Unity Plaza downtown. We're a women-owned business and we're WBE certified. So, we're opening some doors that normally wouldn't have been open for women. So I hope I'm kind of a trailblazer, I guess. Those
Definitely.
people that when you say yes, you can actually accomplish it. And when you see the vision or you take a vision of what someone wants to do, then you can bring it to life. And, that was a really good opportunity to showcase what we're capable of doing. And we're getting ready to work on a green roof, which will also be exciting. Like, I just love how we're putting different facets of nature into different areas. It's not like just planting a tree anymore.
Well, and I saw one of your projects. I thought this was so cool, and it was an interior scape, but it was a living wall, but it went onto the ceiling as well. And it wrapped up the ceiling, and I was like, "That's so cool."
That was actually a moss and preserved plant wall. And
Was
we
it?
started
Okay.
we went all the way across the ceiling and we had to work around a couple items. We had a sprinkler in the way and we had to follow code because we had to be 18 inches away from the ceiling and we had to work around a security camera. So sometimes we have to, adjust on site with what we're doing. We can't just always follow the plan. Sometimes it changes. So I'm glad you saw that. It was really fun. It turned out really good. Up like this, staring at the ceiling, getting moss and plants and dirt in our eyes. But at the end of the day, we stepped away and we were really happy with it. And so was a client.
Fantastic. Yeah, really, really neat. You talked about earlier how you work with sometimes homeowners, sometimes architects. What does it look like on these projects? Because it sounds like you have quite a team collaboration kind of working environment.
Yeah, we're very collaborative. We really like to make sure we know exactly what the client wants before we even get started. Sometimes there's projects we do that it has to be this way, right? Because, for instance, the Pacers Plaza, the trees had to go where the trees went. The irrigation had to go where the irrigation went, but we're kind of design building as we go along. So we can't always follow the plans perfectly. Sometimes we have to, but when someone comes to us and says, "Hey, I really want, we're doing some office buildings right now, some lobbies, perfect place for something green." And I basically got the information that one lobby is very vertical and one lobby is very flowy. So I get this blank slate. I make the designs. I send them to the designer. The designer shares them with the owner. And then from there, we figure out what that design is going to look like. So it's really a teamwork and really deciding what the vision is like because you can't really see in people's heads. Sometimes you just have to say, listen. We're very good at listening. You listen very closely. You look at their personality, you look at the fabrics, you look at the space, and then you figure out what they're going to like based on basically their personality and their design. And hopefully 10 times out of 10, I usually come up with something like, I didn't give myself that much credit. So yeah, so it's been fun. We've done atriums with live plants. We've got a couple of those and those are really fun too. And I think people don't always understand exactly what it takes to take care of plants. So indoors is so different than outdoors because indoors you have a controlled environment. You don't have winter like we have in Chicago and Indiana. So you're really keeping these plants alive 24/7 all the way around the clock, 365 days a year. So they need pruning, they need pest control, they need water, they need fertilizer, they need to be cleaned.
And you do all this care as well?
We do all of it. So we try to make it as easy as possible for the client.
To
And
have
for
greenery.
for the designers, we want the designers to trust us. They know that when they say, this is what the client wants, we're going to take care of it and we're going to deliver and we're going to exceed their expectations so that they're happy and, they have a good experience and
And they
they want
come
more
back
nature
wanting
indoors.
more. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So
how
yes,
has the business grown? So 8 years in business. Another thing that you mentioned to me offline and I think is fascinating because started this business, a whole new business, and pivoting it as you went at the age of 52.
Yeah.
Um,
I wasn't a kid.
and I think, okay, you don't look like you're, old enough to have been 52 8 years ago,
Don't do that math.
but, like that's, you know, so ambitious that you've embarked on this, you know, later in life, and as a almost second or third career, really, when you think about raising kids and, starting your writing and then going into this. I mean, I think you approach business in a different way
Mhm.
when you start it, after you've had another career or two. How, yeah, can you explain how different it felt?
Well, selfishly, since I'm a writer by trade, that's what I do. That's what I love. I wanted to, and because when I was a writer, I did so many different stories. I did crime beat, I did education beat, I did, I was a field producer at CNN. So I did everything, weather, you name it. It's like, I want to focus. I want to be an expert in one thing. So I love plants. And gardening. So
Okay.
I chose
Yeah.
gardening. Just
Yeah.
selfishly, I was like, I'm going to only write about nature. I'm going to only write about plants. So that is why I got into what I was doing, but I had no idea I'd go from wanting to continue to write about plants to actually installing and buying and growing. You know, it has just blown up, and to my surprise, I don't have much time to write,
When
but
you
I have a lot of,
do, come on over to Saint. Yeah.
I know, I need to write some articles for you. Oh my God, I love that. That'd be wonderful. But yeah, so we're all about nature, right? We want to add nature to wherever we can because we know studies have shown that nature makes people happy. And it not only boosts their mental health and wellness, it just is a beautiful thing to look at when at home or in
I have
office
some
space. And your
fake
greenery, yeah.
fake green wall, and I swear it does make me feel better. And I know it's not cleaning the air.
No, but you know what? Same studies say it doesn't matter if it's real. I mean, granted, it's nice to have real plants because
Better
they
to have.
clean the air, but it doesn't matter if it's real. If it's green and it looks like nature, it's going to have a benefit. So your boxwood wall is beautiful and beneficial.
Well, tell our audience like how you've grown the business. What does it look like from, year 0 to now? And describe it in any way that you want to. I mean, some people like to describe it in the size or value of projects. I mean, it sounds like you've had some huge projects. In people, I mean, you explain how you've grown and how you're doing things differently 8 years on.
Yeah, so I keep learning every single day. I think it's so important. I know you're like this too, is that you just have to keep learning. Like you can't stop. And I'm learning something new literally every minute of every day. And I think that's really important. And when you try to grow a business, like I started with nothing, I'm really kind of self-funded. And, I freak out every single time my bank account gets a little low. And I'm like, oh, where's that next check? I need to pay payroll. But, it doesn't scare me. I try not to get scared. I try to believe that what is happening now is going to lead to bigger and better things in the future. And we have had some very big jobs. We did a whole rooftop for a apartment complex, and we were doing the rooftop. I mean, we're talking pavers, a raised roof with turf and rock gardens. And then once we did that, the contractor's like, hey, can you do the lower level too? I don't really like what the other contractor's charging me. So I was like, sure. And then that led to another job, which led to another jobs. Um, we're not growing so much. I think 2026 is going to be a great financial year, but I reinvest all the time. I just reinvest in what I'm doing. I reinvest in the company. I buy a new piece of equipment. We built a storage facility, having a massive profit, but we're building and we're growing and we're doing some cool stuff. And I have an amazing team. Everybody's totally on board. We're
Big of a team.
So I've got 5 people right now, actually 6, and I have probably 2 sets of subcontractors that work with me all the time. So the team that I have now is great at handling any job, like probably 50,000 or less. And then when we have something a lot higher that needs to be done a little quicker, I call my sub team in and they crank on it. So basically, I probably have about 25 people that I work with.
It's great. And those relationships
Hmm.
really help you with managing, yeah, all the ups and downs of big jobs, small jobs, managing all between. I think that's why we need to collaborate more with the companies in our own towns.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're kind of talking with your magazine synced, right? Is collaboration, how to work together, how to be a team. I mean, it's better for everybody. It's like I'm not afraid of competition. I just think there's enough out there for all of
Sure.
us. And I love the people I work with. And we were just at a job today, right before I got back. I was like, okay, Angelique's waiting for me. And we have to redo a job because we have fake plants going in this place. They're too small. They're just too small. I don't like them either, but they looked like they were bigger. So we're taking all the plants in, putting them all back in. Cause you know what? And I was like, I'm not charging you labor. We'll just charge you for the little bit extra plant that you're getting because I feel like that is creating a relationship that even if it's going to cost me money, I'm building relationships. And I think that's the most important thing to me right now is to really build relationships and trust.
It's interesting you say trust because our keynote speaker for our next Sync Live is talking about trust. And I think that we have this in general, our industry, we never have enough people. We're always frantic. And I think that building those local relationships could lead to better trust of everybody, trust between contractors, trust between design teams and contractors, between contract teams and clients, and all that, you know, not to overcommit and underdeliver, but the opposite, you know,
Exactly.
over deliver, build relationships, treat people like you want to be treated, and really build trust in our industry. I think.
Right, and be honest about what you can and can't accomplish. I mean, every time I've said yes to a job that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I just pull in the troops and they're like, okay, we have this job to do. Like we had two $3 million homes that we had to outfit in literally almost a weekend to get it ready for an open house. The guy
Oh
called
my
me out the
goodness.
blue. He's like, I don't want to do this. Can you do this for me? And so my mom was in the hospital for back surgery. And I literally sat there all night long pulling plants together for him. And we got it turned around in like 4 days and it was ready for his open house. And not everybody will do that. I just feel like it's important to do the best you can for almost everybody you can, unless you absolutely can't. I mean,
Well, but it also speaks to the team that you have around you, that you can, you know,
yeah,
you
they
you
pulled it all
you pull
together.
things together as a team.
Yep, yep.
And
So, and I think that's the best part. I love the people that I work with. I love the people that I work for. And it's just been such a treat to start my own business in the landscape industry because I think it's a great industry. And I think a lot of the landscapers, they don't do interiors, but maybe they should look into it because I think it's a good combination doing the interiors and the exteriors. You know, we don't
y-
always have
you
enough.
said that you were getting referrals to do the other, you do a good job on one and you get referrals to do the other.
Right. Yeah. It's worked out well like that. You know, we're kind of growing our exterior landscape division. We've got a couple of, estimates out there. We don't get all the bids, but we get enough that it's really rewarding and fun.
And so what do you see happening in the future if you have a
I
crystal
just see us
ball?
continue to grow. We have this great opportunity coming up to do this green roof, and that's going to be really exciting. And I just think the growth is fun. The more people you can help, the more people you can bring greenery into. And I really want to grow my porch pot division. That might sound kind of strange, but we just do beautiful porch pots seasonally. And they're so fun. We know you're so sick of God, it's, winter and all of a sudden you're like looking at your pool, your porch, and you're like, these are so hideous. And we come in and we make them beautiful. And I think honestly, that's what I like so much about landscaping is that you make things beautiful. Everybody gets to work in the mud and, the electricians doing what they're doing, you plumbers doing what they're doing. You can't see any of it. But at the end of the day, we're the finishing touch, right? Landscapers are the finishing touch. They're the last one inside and out. And once you hang that beautiful green moss wall, or you put the trees and the plants and do the porch pots or the pots, it brings happiness. Don't you think?
Yes. And well, I guess, I always try to look at it from different perspectives. I also know that I hear this a lot. I experienced a lot, sometimes in a new build situation or even renovation, your budget is because you're the finishing touch. Your budget gets cut and it's seen as maybe frivolous and in the last piece of the budget.
That is true too. And that's a bummer when that happens, because I really honestly think that sometimes architects, designers, owners don't understand the true value. Let's just use interior greenery for example, because that's usually where it gets cut from. Everybody has landscaping guidelines they have to follow, especially in a city or a town that has these specific number of
So many
trees, whatever.
plants, so many trees. Yeah.
Right, right. But so inside, when you move inside and you have this massive wall and it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be people use these for focal points, Instagram shots, you know, to, to post and uh, to use as a backdrop to say, hey, this is where I am. Isn't this cool? And it is a draw. So I think sometimes people don't realize that, or owners, when they start looking at the numbers and like, oh, we got to buy faucets, we got to buy flooring, we got to buy wallpaper. They don't realize that wall covering, that green wall covering is going to bring more customers in and going to bring them back again and again, just because it's beautiful and it's something to talk about. And it's something that they can take a family photo in front of and Instagram it and share it. And it gets shared over and over and over again. So we were
Company
value
pride,
engineering out
maybe.
of something quite fantastic. But I think if I can educate people, and maybe if I can write a little article for you, but if you educate people
Yes.
why, and the stats and the information on biophilic design and why it's so important to have inside and what it does to the health and just the beauty of the space, then I think that would be a good educational step to take.
Imagine even like for a morale boost,
Mhm.
and like you said, we already know it cleans the air if they're living plants.
Right.
A focal point, yeah, anything to give company pride and I don't know, some enthusiasm about your workspace.
Even hospitality, hotels, it just brings people back again and again. I mean, it just, back in the day, our cubicles were so gray. I mean, made a rhyme there, but yeah, back then they're so gray. There's just nobody cared about, making your workspace pretty, or, a hotel is just a hotel, right? You're just selling rooms, but it's not. They're not just hotels anymore. They're not just restaurants anymore. They're not just office spaces. They're actually places where people live, where people spend a majority of their time. And if you look into biophilic design, 95, 90 to 95% of our time is spent indoors. And you're spending 40 hours a week at your office space. So in order to make it healthier and a place where you enjoy going and you can be happy, greenery does it for you. Nature is like the best Xanax. Get out in nature. You don't need those, you know, drugs if you just go out and spend some time in nature or surround yourself by it.
Me of there isn't there a Japanese word that means walking in the forest, because it actually like they've proven that it what it does to your body is healthy and there's a term for that in Japan.
Right. I have a book on forest bathing. It's just like
That yeah,
on nature, and you will feel so much better. And Singapore, look at Singapore. I really need to go there someday. They have invested so much time and energy and money into bringing nature into that city. And it has paid off. There's a lot of people in Singapore, of course. There's a lot of toxins for that nature, and there's a lot of air purifying oxygen needed. But just the companies, the cities and the companies that invest in nature, it pays off.
it will reap rewards.
Mm.
Well, and I think even so we did a sedum roof at our house in Scotland. Again, it wasn't just the benefits of the greenery, it was the insulation as well. There are added benefits and maybe as an industry, we just need to be better at the education part, like you said, about biophilic design inside, and maybe landscape companies taking that on as another division, and really selling the benefits and the long-term benefits.
Right. And not only do you get the insulation, you also get, it's pretty, of course, prettier than, asphalt roof. And it also helps with stormwater runoff. So instead of having when there's a huge storm, instead of having all the water run off into the sewers and the sewers overflowing and having problems there, the plants soak it up. A lot of it stays on the roof. And that's a huge benefit too for these green roofs. And you can also have, it's a habitat. Like it's a place in a city, for instance, the concrete jungle, Chicago's got a lot of them, a lot of those green roofs. And I think the post office has a green roof on it, but you'll see birds nesting up there and bees, pollinating, and it just keeps the ecosystem flowing and alive.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and those of you listening to this podcast, we are going to get some photos of Steph's job so we can do an article on your work, you and your team's work, and show off the variety of projects that you've worked on. So love that we get to show off what you've done and what you've built over such a short time.
Yeah, thank
So
you. There's always a new challenge. There's always new material. There's always a new idea. And that energy keeps me so inspired. And, NatureSpire is designs inspired by nature. So we want to inspire too. We want to really take those challenges and turn it into something people love.
love that. And how can our audience get in touch with you, learn about let's tell everybody your website.
Okay, our website is www.naturespire.com, and I spelled nature differently. So nature is spelled without an E. It's NatureSpire, or they can email it steph@naturespire.com, or they can just go to our website. But yeah, I love answering questions. If anybody has any idea of what they want to do, if they don't know how to do a living wall, I am huge. I'm a huge helper. I love to share.
Go collaboration.
Yeah, it's all about collaboration. Let's get synced, right?
So much, Steph. It's so great to have you on, and look forward to doing that article with you and maybe having you write some articles too.
I know, that'd be
Win-win.
awesome. I finally will be able to write about plants, right?
Yeah.
After 8 years. That's fun. So hopefully
We're
I'll see
just
New
meant to
Orleans.
find each other.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been hard. I'm not lying. It hasn't been easy, but it's been fun, and the end results are just fabulous 100% of the time.
Can't wait to see them all.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on. And I know we even have another topic that we're going to explore later because, so stay tuned for more from
let's do it.
Steph on the podcast.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Steph. And I'll see you again soon.
All right. Sounds great. Bye.